Yo, what's up, people? It's your boy. I'm Chris the Don One, and I am back with another video. Okay, another day has passed, and Phil Jackson still hasn't released a statement about what LeBron James said about him. Now, LeBron James said he lost a lot of respect of Phil Jackson because of his recent comments about him and his business associates. Now, before I get into my topic, I first like to say this for the record. I don't think Phil Jackson is racist or sexist or anything like that. I really do think that Phil Jackson is out of touch, sort of say. I think he's out of touch with this generation. Now, what do I mean by that? When Phil Jackson was a coach, he was brought into an era where executives, coaches, and owners had the influence of the NBA. They control not only the chess pieces, but the chess board. They control who they can draft, who they can trade for, what players can come to their teams. It was more of a recruiting type of era, all right, sort of say. And Phil Jackson, as well as other executives and owners, control the landscape. Now we're living in a new era, okay? Now players have the juice. Players have the influence on who joins their team. And when they become free agents, they have the pick of the litter, so to say, to join any team he wants to go to. He can either recruit his former friends, his former college players, or other free agents, all right? We're living in a different era, and Phil Jackson is out of touch of this particular era. Now, Phil Jackson wrote a book in 2004, and he basically threw a lot of shade at LeBron James and Maverick Carter and Rich Paul, and he basically called those guys Posse, hanger-ons, the type of individuals that will go get the car and go fetch the player's girl. And he said this will affect LeBron James mentally. Now, fast forward to 2016, he is still saying these quotes, all right? He is not stepping back from these particular quotes, and it is a shot at Rich Paul. It is a shot at LeBron James, okay, and even Maverick Carter, okay? Now, is this a racist type of behavior? No, I'm not going to step on that limb, but I think is an out of touch type of situation, and it's sort of a form of disrespect, because Phil Jackson must have a huge case of amnesia, but when he was the coach of the Chicago Bulls, world champion Chicago Bulls, the Reinstorm family, they got special treatment because that family owned that team. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, to a lesser extent, they received special treatment because those players contribute to their titles, all right? And when he left Chicago and moved to Los Angeles, the Buss family received special treatment. Why? Because that family owned the LA Lakers, all right? The same thing goes for Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bean Bryant. They received special treatment because they contribute to the team success, especially capturing world titles, all right? Multiple world titles. So Phil Jackson is out of touch. He has a huge case of amnesia because when he was the coach of those teams, he never had an issue with it. He never had a problem with it. And he never talked down to Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Shaquille O'Neal. Now, he did throw a little shade at Kobe Bryant, but he still respected him as an individual and as a player, okay? Now, Phil Jackson falls in the same category like a lot of people in society. It doesn't really matter what type of walk of life you are in, but the type of individuals that want to take gratification and want to take responsibility when their success going their way and the organization and the team way, all right? There's nothing wrong with that, but the problem with Phil Jackson is he doesn't incorporate everyone into that success. Now, he's right now currently trying to run the triangle in New York City, an old offense that worked in the 80s and in the 90s, but trying to adapt it now in this quote unquote fast break type of offense. It is not working. And Phil Jackson did not create this offense, all right? He likes to take pride that he introduced this offense, but if you guys do a Google search, you will find out who created this triangle offense. And that coach was on the Chicago bench as an assistant coach. When Phil Jackson moved to Los Angeles and brought the triangle with him, he hired that same coach, okay? So, yes, Phil Jackson incorporated the triangle offense to his teams, but he was not the creator. But when you hear people talk about Phil Jackson is the first name that pops up when you mention the triangle, all right? Phil Jackson also had the benefit of having great players, okay? He had Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and then when he went to the Los Angeles Lakers, he had Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Now, I'm not saying that's a disrespect towards Phil Jackson. I'm not saying that Phil Jackson shouldn't take any responsibility for the team's success, but Phil Jackson is a great manager. He knows how to manage egos, different types of egos on teams, okay? But the problem with Phil Jackson is he also has a huge and incredible ego, all right? Do not get this twisted. Phil Jackson is having a hard time coping with the fact that players now in 2016 have the influence, they have the control to go where they want to go. And that's why Phil Jackson is having a hard time landing a Kevin Durant, landing a LeBron James. He's going to have a hard time, and it's going to be an uphill climb to even manage to get Anthony Davis, to pull Anthony Davis from the Pelicans to the New York Knicks, okay? And he's going to have to understand and accept the fact, as well as Pat Riley to a lesser extent, that players now run the league, okay? It's not about the executive, the owner, the high-profile coach. It's about the players. And if you don't have the players, you're not winning squat, okay? Phil Jackson, it's amazing how Phil Jackson talk about other teams like the Golden State Warriors, the Cleveland Cavaliers, but he never talks about his own team, all right? You have a team, Phil Jackson. You get paid millions of dollars to develop this team every year, and the outcome is always the same. They always have a losing season. You have Carmelo Anthony, you have Derrick Rose, Porzingis. You have a decent roster. It's not a great roster, but what can you add for this roster? All right. How can you make this team better? Are you going to always throw your rings on the table to somehow try to attract and land a free agent? You got to don't hate the player, hate the game. All right. You have to play the game. You have to play this system. And if it means you have to buddy up with a player to get two other great players, that's what you're going to have to do. All right. It's not about doing it your way. It's about incorporating other aspects to get your organization at a better level. But guys, tell me what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. It's your boy. I'm Chris the Don 1, and I am out. I am so sorry this video was so fucking long.